today. First and foremost, before we begin our parenting talk show, I would like to begin by introducing ourselves. My name is Marissa Rossi, and this is one of my fellow parenting experts, Hannah Nadeau.
Hello everyone, I'm Hannah.
Today, we will be discussing a very specific aspect of parenting. The topic we will explore will be parenting a child with disabilities. Many of you watching today may know someone in your life, such as a friend or family member who has a disability. Whether you have a family member, friend, or a child with a disability, it is crucial to know how to manage and understand the type of behaviors associated with it. The 3 disabilities that we will be focusing on in our discussion include autism spectrum disorder, Down syndrome, and dyslexia. As we continue our discussion on how to parent a child with disabilities, let us consider throughout our discussion 3 major thought questions. The first question we should keep in mind is, why are each of these disabilities considered behaviors that need more attention? Or in other words, why should parents be aware of the disability and what kinds of effects are associated with the disability? The next question we should consider is, how can parents help their child deal with their disability? And finally, the last question we should keep in mind is, in what ways can parents be affected or influenced by caring for their child who has a disability?
Yes, as a parenting expert, specifically in the field of disability, I have many ways in which I can provide helpful tips and share research that I have studied. Much of my research has consisted of studying research articles having to do with aspects around parenting a child with disabilities.
First off, we will begin our discussion by talking about the condition known as autism spectrum disorder. Autism spectrum disorder is a disability that affects the brain and affects the way one socializes and interacts with the world and people around them. Oftentimes, children with autism spectrum disorder will have trouble focusing and staying on task. So Hannah, what kind of advice do you have for someone parenting a child with autism? Meaning, what is the best way a parent or child can construct a positive environment for them?
Well, according to an article I read by Limbrichetz, Lewin, Boone, and Mace, and Noens, for parents, so comprehending the way their child thinks is important to anticipate difficult situations and to help their child cope with these complexities. Understanding what makes the child comfortable and knowing what situations trigger which kinds of behavior can be very important in helping your child react more calmly to a situation. An environment and schedule that a child feels comfortable with can also prove very helpful and effective for that child.
It's extremely interesting to know that even small things, such as creating a familiar schedule for a child, can help them feel organized and comfortable. Another aspect of this conversation that I feel to be very important is to know your child and know what types of things make them feel comfortable and happy.
Yes, exactly. In addition to this, in a very interesting book I read by Roger Dawson and Vismara, one way in which a parent can incorporate stimulating activities into their child's daily routine is by building learning into everyday activities and routine, particularly incorporating it into play.
Thank you, Hannah. I have one more question for you in regards to this disability. How are parents affected by their child who has a disability such as autism?
Well, a lot of time parents experience stress from dealing with the behavior part of the disability. Usually, the severity of the disability determines the increased levels of stress the parental figures, especially the mothers, may experience. This is due to the fact that children with autism spectrum disorder typically have behavioral issues that the parent must effectively learn how to handle. It is very important to deal with the stress factor that many parents experience, as stress can lead to many negative outcomes, including trouble in a co-parenting relationship. In order to support parents and minimize stress, parents can use a number of coping mechanisms, such as looking for strength in the community and knowing that other people are dealing with similar situations.
Very helpful. Thank you, Hannah. Now let's move on to our next specific disability we will explore today, which is known as Down syndrome. Down syndrome is a genetic disorder that results from the excess chromosome of chromosome 21. Down syndrome can vary in severity, but typically causes intellectual and developmental issues. Hannah, what can you tell us about parenting styles regarding parenting a child with a disability such as Down syndrome?
Well, Marissa, I can tell you and all our viewers that research, specifically a source I used by Smith and Connors, has shown a permissive style to be more common when managing a child with Down syndrome. But the authoritative parenting style is the style of parenting that is associated with more future positive outcomes for a child with or without a disability.
Wow, so it is shocking that even though an authoritative parenting style is recommended, the permissive style seems to be more common. For those who do not know, the permissive style or parenting has to do with setting low expectations for the child and kind of letting your child do as they please.
Yes, this is because usually parents with children who have Down syndrome typically experience behavior problems, and the parent has trouble dealing with the behavior. This means that the parent would rather give in to the child's bad behaviors rather than explain to the child why things are happening in a way they would understand.
Very interesting. Last but not least, let's discuss dyslexia. Dyslexia is a learning disability that usually affects the way children perceive knowledge. Most of the time, dyslexia causes problems academically in school and in the way children perceive themselves. Often, children will compare themselves to students who do not have a learning disability and think negative thoughts about themselves. So, Hannah, what exactly is dyslexia and what aspects of parenting are associated with it?
Well, according to Ross, dyslexia is a specific learning difficulty that mainly affects the development of literacy and language-related skills. It is likely to be present at birth and to be lifelong in its effects. It is characterized by difficulties with phonological processing, rapid naming, working memory, processing speed, and automatic development of skills that may not match up to an individual's other cognitive abilities. So, parents of children with a learning disability, such as dyslexia, should have tools to help guide their children in regards to schoolwork or performing certain tasks. In one article by Alcantara, Delgado, Rubio, and Munoz say that the parents of children with dyslexia or other language problems who see their children working hard but not achieving results in accordance with their effort should be provided with practical tools to help them guide their children in performing tasks and thus contribute to their emotional support. Offering support to your child can be an effective way in helping your child manage their disability.
Well, thank you guys for all listening. I hope we have helped you and can educate you on a topic that means a lot to us. Thank you.